Hello everyone. So I wanted to start this presentation off just by showing you guys one of the current news stories that's really popular. As you can see, had to use Google Translate. This one is about a president of the FAF, which is the football league, as in soccer. The reason this wasn't in my presentation though is because it was kind of shady in how it was translated. But just know that this is a big story right now. There's some sort of embezzlement issue going on with him, and he was put in prison for it. Okay, so this is What's Up, Andorra. It's a study of the current events in the Principality of Andorra. My first current event is the PS asks for chemotherapy treatments offered by SAAS, which is the healthcare system there, to cancer patients. What's happening in this story is that an Andorran official, Rosa Gilly, is questioning the Andorran healthcare service about where their chemotherapy drugs are coming from and how their service is receiving the drugs. The questions come amidst various complaints among citizens about the provision of the drug. Gilly wants to know if the SAAS has its own stock of the drugs and how soon those who need it can get it after they are diagnosed. She says, let me go back. She says it's essential for patients to start the treatment as soon as possible and once the oncologist's diagnosis has been made. The Prime Minister has responded by saying that the Health Minister is studying the treatment's viability, while Gilly's questions remain unanswered. SPOT is ensuring the kind of chemotherapy being given to the patients is the best on the market, not only for the patients but for the Andorran economy as well. They're looking at prices and where it's coming from. The most recent budget includes a facility that would be made specifically for them to administer chemotherapy to patients. So it'd only be cancer patients, not like a hospital. The key political actors in this story is the Minister of Health, Joan Martinez Benezet, the General Counsellor, Rosa Gilly, and she's recognized as a health rep in her political party, and the Prime Minister, Xavier Espot. And just to connect the story to history, I wanted to put the history of the SAAS. It's very recent because Andorra once relied on France and Spain for almost all of its needs. Its first public hospital was open, the Virgin Clinic of Merxatel, in 1971. And in 1977, another clinic joined the health sector, and the two clinics assumed different duties, so they were working parallel with each other to provide different services to patients. And then the SAAS was created in 1986. It pretty much merged both of them. It manages all of the public health care facilities, and the first healthcare center of Andorra was opened just 3 years after its establishment. So I didn't really have as much as that one as I would like to have, but these next two had a lot more of detail in the story. Like I said, I'm kind of having to translate all of these on Google Translate, and it's not the best way to read your news. So my second current event is about the zipline project at Naturelandia. It is a little camp where they have a whole bunch of like adventure-y stuff. They call it an adventure park, and it's a major tourist attraction. A 6 zipline project at Naturelandia is set to bring over 600,000 euros to Andorra's tourist industry per year. Due to its location in a natural park, select groups of people are concerned about the environmental impact of such a massive project. The environmental report is set to be out soon and could decide the fate of the new attraction. The story relates to my third current event, but we'll get to that later. The key political actors in this story are the mayor of St. Julia de Luria, which is the principality in which this park is in, Josep Miquel Vela. Articles have placed him both for and against the new attraction. I believe that's probably some sort of translation issue, but he does seem to be excited about the revenue it could bring, but he's also worried because the company behind Naturelandia is already in debt and the future is a little bit doubtful for them. This project is big and costs a lot of money. The Floridian Union is a political party in St. Julia de Luria, and they are just concerned. They are a conservative party. They are concerned with the toll the project will take on the environment. So, yeah, sorry, I spelled that wrong. They are just concerned for what might be happening to the forest. So it matters. The story is pretty big, and I know we really wouldn't have big stories like this, but it matters a lot to Andorra economically because the park at Naturelandia is a major tourist attraction. Their website is all in English. So they get people from Europe and America coming to it all the time. It brings in hundreds of thousands of euros every year. The company that runs it, Kambasa SA, is in debt, and the park hasn't always had the best reviews. You can actually go online right now and search it, and it just doesn't have the best reviews. So if the debt gets worse and people stop coming, the parish of St. Julia de Luria will be left to pay the price. Environmentally, it's important because Andorrans are proud of their land, just as we are of ours. And like anyone else, they want to do what they can to preserve what hasn't been destroyed yet. The zipline will run over a forest in the Pyrenees Mountains, and the Andorrans do not want it harmed just for a tourist attraction. And so after I did those first few slides, the environmental report came out just a day ago. It is out and it has a favorable outlook. The zipline will run between 1,600 and 2,000 meters. The only issue with the report was on the beginning of the zipline where a few trees that are too tall will have to be felled. And they also said something about another one of their major attractions being kind of in the way of the entrance, so they're going to have to make it zigzag. And the village meetings on this report will be held in September. They're going to discuss and see if they're actually sure they want to move on with the project, with the money it will cost and the environmental impacts it will have. And my third story is Cirque du Soleil's fate in Andorra. This is a surprisingly big story there. They really, really love the show and have put it on in a certain area for many years. So it was interesting to me to see so many things about it. It's a kind of another news story you wouldn't really see being so big here. So Cirque du Soleil is a highly popular show in Andorra. Just search it on any Andorran news site and a lot of stories will pop up. The show brings in thousands of foreign visitors per year and probably a few $1 million. I didn't really get a number on that, though. It was not in any of the articles. Citizens and politicians are torn about whether it is worth the amount of planning required to hold it and allow people to see the show. And due to its costs and venue at Andorra's Central Park, the Office of Tourism is considering finding an attraction to bring in revenue after its contract with Cirque du Soleil ends at the end of the summer 2019. Questions on the show's continuation arose after a few events took place. The first being that its show needs a great amount of water, And the hydraulics in Andora's park, where it is being held. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I did not realize it was going to cut me off. So, questions on the show's continuations arose after a few events took place. We kind of mentioned this in the last one before I got cut off. The hydraulics in Andorra Central Park may not have the endurance to provide the water for the show much longer. The show's location also causes parking issues over the summer. Due to the show's location in the capital, this parking is needed for things other than tourism. So the pros and cons of keeping Cirque du Soleil is if the show continues in Andorra, their tourist industry will continue to bring in a lot of money. It was fairly low cost for Andorra to put it on in the first place. They receive a significant amount of employment from the show every year, and alone the show brings with it tons of jobs and boosts employment every summer. If the show is getting as unpopular as some think, though, these are the cons, and the show's continuation could cause economic problems, and if it does not agree to a new location, issues could form in the capital, and it could cause its citizens problems. So, connecting these two stories, if the zipline is successful and actually gets built, it may be able to replace the money made currently by Cirque du Soleil and possibly the jobs. Tourism is very clearly important to Andorra, and every parish cares about the money it brings to their towns. The key political actors in this story are Enric Torres, who is the manager of tourism projects. He believes that Cirque du Soleil is the best option for tourism in Andorra. And then Francis Camp, the Minister of Tourism, who wants people to come to bid or not bid on Cirque du Soleil with ideas to replace it in mind. He wants to consider all the options moving forward. Finally, we have Sylvia Calvo, Minister of the Environment, Agriculture, and Sustainability. Doesn't seem to mind whether the show stays or goes after 29, but she does care that it is not held in the same location as it is right now. And here are my sources. More sources. And that's it.